Well, good evening and welcome to the East Contra Costa Fire Protection District Facebook Live event that is being shared on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a moment to let folks start populating and be able to watch this. And once I see that we have people on, I'll get going. I'm actually doing it on my own personal device. I'm taking this event and I'm going to be sharing it once I can see it myself. And all right, so I'm sharing it. I'm asking for you to do the same thing, be able to share it on your own device. And again, I welcome you. My name is Brian Helmick. I'm the fire chief of the East Contra Costa Fire Protection District. And we have before done many of these events in the past to be able to give the state of the districts and updates. And I think most importantly, provide a question to you, those that we serve, to provide us questions, and hopefully I can provide you with some answers. The way that tonight is going to work is I'm going to spend about 20 minutes working through a presentation and giving you a state of the district. And then I'll open it right up into a question and answer. Any of the questions you may have don't have to relate to the presentation. But again, we want to make sure that you are up to speed on district events, not only administratively, operationally, politically, and we try to just keep you up to speed on what it is that we're doing. Specifically, if you're a resident and or a business owner in Brentwood, Oakley, Knightson, Bethel Island, Discovery Bay, Byron, Marsh Creek, and Morgan Territory, this is specifically for you, the residents and businesses of the East Contra Costa Fire Protection District. This event is being recorded, as I just stated. We're giving it live, not only on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Periscope. Once it's recorded, it will live on YouTube. We will also take it, and if you're on our distribution list, if you go to our website and become and follow not only our agenda packets for our meetings, but also our meeting, all of our announcements, you will be emailed the link to this video and you can go back and archive it. So again, I'm asking for you to share. It looks like we do have multiple people populating. I appreciate those that are on. And I do ask for you to be able to share this with those because we do want to get this information out. I anticipate that tonight will go no longer than an hour, but for any reason, if I don't address any questions that you have, this is an opportunity to start a conversation. We'll continue it as we move forward. So to begin the conversation, what I will ask is if you start populating questions, if you're on YouTube, Periscope, or Facebook, I ask you to start populating your questions now. It does take some time for them to come together, but once at the very end we go into the Q&A, I'll work through all of them the best that I can. And those that I can't, I'll follow up with you at a later date if I'm able to. So again, please share this event. I really appreciate you being here, and I think I have a lot to share. If I go to the next slide, please. So today, what I'm really wanting to work through is provide you with on who East Contra Costa Fire is, what is our current challenges, the path to correct our historic challenges, and provide you with additional information and locations to get additional information and answer questions for you. One of the things that you'll find as we go through this presentation is that our history, who we were and what we've been through, has done a lot to demonstrate who we are here today. So I really want to make sure as I go through this presentation that if you are very new to our area, you're a new business owner, you're a new resident, and if you don't know anything about the fire district, I intend to be able to introduce and bring you up to speed throughout this presentation. With that being said, if you're also well seasoned, you attend multiple board meetings, you've been heavily engaged in fire district activities, you've been trying to help the district grow and address our issues, I think there are still going to be some relevant and good updates for you and some calls to action for meetings for you to attend that will keep you informed on what we're doing. So this is what I hope to get through tonight, and at the very end, I hope that we achieve all these items. Next slide, please. Who East Contra Costa Fire is one of the biggest statements that folks really need to wrap their head around and understand to be able to get a good grasp on what our current issues really are. The fire district, although today we cover 250 square miles, we cover the city of Brentwood, the city of Oakley, and many of the townships of unincorporated Contra Costa County with Knightson, Bethel Island, Discovery Bay, Byron, Marsh Creek, and Morgan Territory. It's a large footprint. And we were historically in the 20s all the way to 2002, we were providing volunteer fire protection in these areas. And it wasn't until 2002 that the East Contra Costa Fire Protection District merged from 3 agencies: Oakley-Knightson Fire Protection District, the Bethel Island Fire Protection District, and the East Diablo Fire Protection District. The reason that is so important is that in the mid-70s, the way that we receive all of our funding, the way that it was allocated, the way we're funded 96% through property taxes. Property taxes are the means of which we receive revenue to provide services to our citizens. In the 1970s, the service levels we provided as volunteers is the rate of which our funding was locked in at. And from 1970s all the way to date, there has not been mechanisms in place to address growth. So yes, there's been a lot more growth, but the rate of which that we receive on each home is still allocated to us at a rate that we're a volunteer fire department, although we're a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365 operation. And so we today have half of the revenue that we need, and it's all due to funding and how funding was established. And really it was about not addressing growth effectively, not putting the appropriate measures on new development to be able to bring additional revenue into the district. So from 1924 to 2002, our history is a big driving factor of the challenges we have, and I'll reinforce it throughout the presentation here. Secondarily is our governance. Our governance has changed over the years. Who makes decisions? How are things being done? And all the way up until 2002, through the volunteer fire organizations, we were really dependent upon the Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors, and we did not become an elected board to make our own decisions all the way until 2019. And so the lack of formal governance, the lack of having the volunteer organizations becoming career, has created some tremendous revenue deficits in our jurisdiction. Those revenue deficits have really created an issue where today we have 3 open fire stations, one in Oakley, one in Brentwood, and one in Discovery Bay. We should have no less than 6 fire stations today. We have 3. We should have 6. On the very bottom bullet, as you can see, it says 3, 6, 9 to 10. We have 3 today. We should have 6 today. And we know, looking at the next 20 years of growth in Brentwood, Oakley, and unincorporated Contra Costa County, we're going to need an additional 3 stations for a total of 9. And if those cities or the county change their general plan and expand their territories and develop outside of what we call the urban limit lines, we'll need additional stations beyond what we have. The challenge with this is that we run about 7,700 calls per year at 3 fire stations that take approximately 9,500 pieces of equipment to mitigate those 7,700 calls. There are many calls which we can't make it to, and it's very challenging for us to be effective. And it's essentially because we do not have enough firefighters on a daily basis. We only have 9 on per day. We should have no less than 18 firefighters on per day for a total of 6 fire stations, and it's because of half the funding that we have. Next slide, please. This slide represents, although it may be small and hard to see if you have a computer that expands the screen, this historically just shows you all the organizations that trickle down to who we are today. On the very bottom of the screen, that's our current governance model. We have an elected board of 5, and they've been making some very large strides since 2019, even before that, when they were an appointed board, to be able to not only address our existing service level challenges, but also our growth challenges, which I'll talk about here in a moment. Next slide, please. This slide is very important. What you're going to see when you look at the slide that's going to be on the left-hand side of the screen is your existing current service level. As I stated, on the very top of the screen, you see that the helmet in Oakley. There's a station in Oakley, one in Brentwood, and one in Discovery Bay. On the other side of the screen, on the right-hand side, you will see the green circles represent our existing service level deficits, and the blue is our growth challenges. And next slide, please. And that really boils down to what our current challenges are. So I've had an opportunity to talk to you a little bit about our history, who we are, the funding that we receive or lack thereof. And over the past 4 years, we've really boiled down our problems into 2 statements. Our current challenges are, 1, providing adequate fire protection to the existing population, the existing citizens, and the existing businesses. And as I stated to you, we are 3 stations short from being effective at doing that. We are not adequately funded. We have half of the revenue that we need, and that is primarily happened because when Proposition 13 was put in place and we were a volunteer fire organization at that time, we still only get that portion of the taxes, which is half of the revenue that we need. And so right now we have 3 stations, but we know we need 6. I'll talk to you in a minute what we're doing to be able to address our existing service level challenge. Our second challenge that we have is preparing for and providing adequate fire protection to growth. We know that if we don't address the issues that we have that have brought us here today, our problem will only compound. And we know that we'll need a total of 7 to 9 stations over 20 years. And we want to make sure that we don't miss any opportunities to address growth effectively. And we don't want to repeat any mistakes of the past to make our problem compound. And I think tonight you'll be happy to hear some reports I have for you. Next slide, please. So the path to increase service levels is where we're really doing 2 things. Is that, again, we have an existing issue and we have a growth issue. With the existing problem statement starting back in 2017, we really moved to become what's called sustainable, which means that our revenue, we live within our means. We ensure that we'll be able to provide the service levels that we have on a reoccurring basis, and we would not increase them, the service levels that is, unless we got additional revenue to make sure that year after year it be consistent and reliable. That's what we call sustainable. Secondarily is we know that we need 6 stations today, and the district has been working to build the stations that we need. And once we identify revenue, we'll be able to put the firefighters into the station. And an example of that, and a byproduct of that, and something we've done over the past 3 to 4 years, is that we built Station 55, which is in Oakley, which is going to serve not only the whole district, but is stationed near Knightson and Bethel Island, an area that we want to add engine companies to as soon as revenues come in. We are also working on building another station in Brentwood right now. And if you were to go back and look at the previous slides that talk about our existing surface level deficits, we're on the pathway of having 2 additional stations built, but we're still missing the revenues to be able to staff them. We are working on different ways to get additional revenue, which I'll address here in a second. We do have many things in place that look at potential revenue enhancements from assessments and or taxes, but we're also, I think, and most importantly, exploring additional options. Also on the growth challenge, what we're doing is we're working with the city of Oakley, the city of Brentwood, and the county, and we're making sure that we put agreements in place and fees in place, which I'll discuss here in a moment, to make sure that we get adequate funding and that future residents that come into our jurisdiction pay for the impacts that they bring, and the service level increases that they need will be funded through when they purchase their homes. And so I'll be discussing that in a minute. Next slide, please. So our existing service levels, that's our number 1 problem. As I stated, is we are looking at all other options outside of a tax. With that said, staff, with the direction of our fire board, we have been working collectively, and we do have in place revenue enhancements prepared for a 1, a 2, and or a 3 station assessment or tax. We have that in staging. We have it in place. It's the district's desire not to use them. We are exploring all other alternatives. However, if we get alternatives that only produce a 1 station and or a 2 station per se solution, we still have a 1 station option to go out with our existing residents. We're also looking at state initiatives. Most recently, Proposition 19 at the state had passed. It's going to take some time to see how that produces for underfunded fire districts. We continue to lean into that. We also do work at the state and federal level and look at grants. Grants aren't reoccurring. They're seed money, but we are looking at different propositions and different things that we can do. And we work legislatively almost weekly, almost daily, trying to ensure if there's any revenues at the state that can trickle down to the local level to make us more sustainable, we're leaning into them. But Proposition 19 right now seems to be the most promising. That's a property transfer tax that passed. But we do not believe that's going to start producing any revenues until 2022. But we're still actively being engaged, and we've been supporting that process. We're also looking at county and local initiatives. We've been leaning into, and those of you that don't know, we've been watching the Measure X conversation, was a countywide half-cent sales tax that goes to address not only fire, social services, and other services throughout the county. It was a non-specific half countywide sales tax that passed in November. There's currently a board, or an ad hoc, I should say. There's a committee that is reviewing and taking presentations, and they're going to be making recommendations to the Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors in August or September, and they'll figure out how those funds are going to be allocated. Myself and the other countywide chiefs, we approached and we met with the committee, and we presented on behalf of all the fire agencies in Contra Costa County. And we very much stressed the need of the revenues that we need here in East Contra Costa Fire Protection District. We did highlight that we have a 3-station existing deficit. We identified the revenues that we need, but we also identified many other regional things that all fire agencies need. We made an ask to the committee. We will see how that advances in August and or September to the County Board of Supervisors, and then we will continue to lean into it and ensure that we get revenues that go to address the deficits that we have, but there's still a good process going forward with that. We have also explored and we're looking at expansion and or annexation with the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. This is a consolidation process. We have been working with Contra Costa County Fire since December of 2020. We did a phase 1 preliminary study that said that they believe that we can get 2 additional fire stations with paramedics over a multi-year process. If we did consolidation, they can essentially utilize our revenue with their expenditures, and they believe that they can increase service levels with their existing revenues. I'll be discussing that process here in a moment, but the point is, with our existing service level deficits, the fire board and the staff are working diligently to explore all the options that we can to bring additional revenue into the fire district to ultimately increase service levels to our citizens at the most efficient and wisest way. And so that has been a lot of work here. So that's existing service level deficits and what we're doing to address it. Next slide, please. Now, in regards to consolidation, this is going to be one of the call to actions I want folks to be really pay attention to. And this is one of the primary reasons that we had the meeting here tonight, is that we want to make sure that you're aware of the timeline of these discussions, and we want you to be able to participate. We want you to be able to provide your opinions on this. We have gone through, as I stated on the top, is that we did a phase 1 feasibility study. We presented that to our fire board in December. The fire board approved for us to go into the phase 2 feasibility study, which is a very deep dive. We've been doing that. The outcomes and the results are going to be produced sometime in July. This June 21st, 2001 at 3 o'clock at our finance meeting, we are going to present the findings. Now, the findings are a component of the whole study. The whole study that will be presented at our July board meeting, and I'll have the dates at the very end here that you can reference to and take note of, is the July's meeting is going to have an executive summary, it's going to have findings, it's going to have a conclusion and recommendations to move forward with consolidation with Contra Costa County Fire or not. And so the July 21st meeting, the June 21st meeting at 3 o'clock, and the July 14th meeting, which will be at 6:30, our regular board meeting, they're very important meetings to be able to see how this consolidation feasibility study goes, to provide your opinions and feedback, and to be able to participate through public comment if you desire to do so. And we want you to stay educated and informed as we look at consolidating, which means if we were to do so, the district would dissolve and be annexed into and governed by Contra Costa County. And that information will be produced over the next month. Next slide, please. This is a list of all of the things that we continue to work through. When I say all of us, it's there's a third-party consultant called AP Trident, the fire district in cooperation with Contra Costa County Fire, and also Rodeo Hercules Fire Protection District is also looking at the feasibility of consolidation with Contra Costa County Fire. It's a very intensive process. It started in December. It will be concluding in July. And again, it's going to be important for you to stay engaged on the topic. Next slide, please. And this is a key point. I provided an update to the fire board in April. That in April, and it also stands true as of today, that the studies, as we're approaching the July, and the board will have an opportunity to consider, do they move forward in the annexation process? Do they not? What are the findings? Is that that as of this presentation, there are no indications or any financial or organizational findings that would prevent the recommendation to continue forward with the annexation process, and that's the LAFCO with the county. What that says is that what was demonstrated in December continue to hold. And and we believe what we're hearing from the consultants that will be presenting in July, that will be presenting to not only Contra Costa County's Fire Board, our board, and Rodeo Hercules, is that it's highly likely that there'll be a recommendation made by the consultant that the consolidation looks favorable and it would be wise to consider. But again, we need to work through the final presentation and the products, and the board will need to take action, which will happen in July. Next slide, please. Next slide. Perfect. So that was what we're working on to address our existing service level deficits. Okay, we have the, again, to repeat, we have the assessments if needed that are in staging for 1, 2, or 3 stations. We're looking at all state initiatives. We're looking at countywide or local initiatives, and we're seeking the feasibility of consolidation. And once those go through, we'll be making a decision in the month of July or nearly thereafter, once the board's comfortable with doing so. And I believe that we're well on our way to finding a sustainable, which means reoccurring, solution to our existing service level deficits. In regards to growth, this is a hard one. Growth has been difficult. Respectfully, if we had put mechanisms in place from the 70s when Proposition 13 was put in place, every home, every single development, and every home that came in should have had an assessment placed onto it to that was a one-time fee to help build stations and buy equipment. It's called an impact fee. And there should have been what's also called an assessment, a reoccurring annual assessment that would have gone to the fire district to, over time, slowly build fire stations and buy equipment. That's what impact fees would do. And then also the reoccurring assessment would pay for the ongoing operations to hire and to sustainably staff those stations as we move forward. We have decades of a gap of where we did not take any initiative. The fire district, our partners of the land use agencies, the city or the county, we did not put these mechanisms in place. And so as growth rapidly continued, no additional revenue outside of a small portion of property taxes that were allocated at a rate to fund a volunteer fire department. Those funds have increased dramatically, but we've gone from a volunteer fire department to a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week, 365 professional career organization staffed all of the time, but there's only enough to do 3 fire stations, not 6. So we should have placed community facility districts that on an annual basis would have placed an assessment to pay for the impact of that new development over time, and we missed it for decades. And so right now, to correct that, the fire district is working hand in hand with the city of Brentwood, Oakley, and the county to get not only impact fees, but also CFDs in place. I'm happy to report that as of this presentation, the impact fees that are in place will build an additional 3 stations over the next 20 years. Future development, as they pull permits, they are paying today a new impact fee that will fund the district to buy the apparatus and to build 3 stations over the next 20 years to pay for the impacts of future development. The stations have been taken care of over time. As monies incrementally come in, we'll be able to build stations. It's a huge victory. I thank the city of Brentwood, the county, and Oakley, and our staff and our team of collaboratively working together to ensure that the stations and the apparatus and the funding are in place. It's a huge accomplishment. It's something that we've been taking 4 years to accomplish. If that was in place 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we'd have all the stations and the apparatus that we need. However, we wouldn't have the funds for operations, and that's where the community facility districts come in. I'm also happy to report that as of the April board meeting, the district has established a district-wide community facilities district. I also appreciate the city of Oakley, as the city of Oakley has been working over the past 2 years to condition new development to participate in an Oakley community facility district specific to fire. And now we have a district-wide one that blankets not only Oakley, Brentwood, and the unincorporated areas of the county. That every home that is built, every permit that is pulled, there'll be an annual assessment that the developers will pay for until they sell the home or sell the business or sell the property, and then the property owner will pay for it. Why is that important? It's because now we have the impact fees in place to build future stations, and we also have the community facility districts to pay to hire the firefighters and sustainably operate them. Now, again, we don't have those mechanisms over the past 4 decades for existing 3-station deficits, and that's why we're trying to be as innovative and as creative as we can to correct it. I mean, theoretically, if you were to place an assessment on all homes that were here after Proposition 13 went into place and place the same existing on existing residents, it would establish the same thing as we're doing with future owners. But we understand how hard it is to pass a revenue measure, how people want us to be more innovative and creative. And that is why through our behavior, as I previously discussed, we are trying to explore all alternative options. But I'm very happy to report to you we stopped the bleeding. What brought us in the first place has been corrected. And the future looks bright. But we still need to work through the complexities of our existing service level challenges, and I think we're well on our way. Next slide, please. The upcoming meetings, as I stated, again, this is intended to address our existing service level deficits or a portion thereof. The current plan on the table is we're continuing to lean into the consolidation feasibility study process, and we'll also lean into Measure X, which is that local initiative, and potentially next year, Prop 19 may produce something also. But the collaboration of being innovative and working on not only the propositions of the state and the local level, and also consolidation and leveraging the efficiencies of consolidation in collaboration with local initiatives may be the path to get us to 6 stations as fast as possible. And for that reason, on June 21, again, at the district's finance meeting, we are going to be sharing the phase 2 preliminary feasibility study findings. They're preliminary until they're approved in July, but they're the feasibility study findings, they're the preliminary findings. And then at the July 14th, 21 board meeting, that's at 6:30 p.m., we will be presenting not only the study in its entirety, it will be contained with our board packet that will be going out on, let me see, it should be on the 9th of July. It will go out for the 14th board meeting. It will have the findings, conclusions, recommendations, and it will have a resolution for the board to consider to take possible action on that evening. I really implore people within the community, if they've been monitoring this, if you're new to our community and you're surprised by finding inadequate fire protection in your communities, we want to be really authentic and transparent and forthcoming with you that these are big decisions and that we need to be able to work to resolve them. And so these are important meetings. We ask you for you to participate. Next slide, please. Additionally, the website, the East Contra Costa Fire Protection District's website, there's a tremendous amount of information. We have multiple social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and so on, as we're doing here this evening. Our board meetings are on the second Wednesday of every month. They're live streamed, they're recorded. You go to our website, all the meetings are archived and recorded. The finance meeting, as we're having on June the 21st, that is available to the public too. We welcome people to look at our budgetary processes, the way that we approach our financing and our budgets. Anything that goes to the full board for approval has to get recommendation from the finance committee to advance. And so we have a very systematic process as we're moving forward in what we do. So again, if you go to the website, as I'll be sharing here in a moment, all my contact information is available, not only on the website, and my cell phone number is on there. I'll be sharing with you here in a moment, my email address. But again, we want to make sure that you have not only updated, relevant information and near accessible to it, and the website is the portal to be able to do that, and all of our social media channels will lead you there. Next slide, please. And this is my information. Again, if you are within Brentwood, Oakley, Knightson, Bethel Island, Discovery Bay, Byron, Marsh Creek, Morgan Territory, I am your fire chief. And I want you to be able to reach out to me and call me. And if there's anything, again, if I don't have the answer, I'll direct you to someone on my staff. I'll shoot straight to you how things are going and where we are. But I sincerely care. We are making huge strides as a fire district. I know urgency. I get challenged with urgency all the time, or lack thereof in the appearance. But the things we are overcoming are decades old. And over the last 40 years, we've been able to stop the bleeding. And I believe we have a very comprehensive plan of action to address our existing service level deficits. Tonight, why I come to you is I want you to be aware of not only our progress, but also our current actions. And I want you to be aware of the meetings we have coming forward so you can continue to participate. And if you don't, I'll continue to come and continue to bring you additional updates as they continue to become available. So that does conclude my presentation. I assume we have multiple questions. I can't see them. They'll be populated up for me. And so I welcome the questions we have, and we'll run this until I can hopefully satisfy or answer any questions that we have. Thank you. I thank you. And I think not only real quick on the thank yous, listen, it takes all of us. When I say that, listen, firefighters, I can't, all the firefighters on the line, our prevention staff, our administrative staff, local 1230, 27 of the locals, the cities, the city of Brentwood, Oakley, and the county, the fire board, our families that support us to be able to dedicate what we do here. So I sincerely thank you for the thank you, but it's very important to be able to know that I have the privilege to represent the agency as the fire chief, but I'm only one component, and our success is a demonstrated teamwork amongst all of us. So we thank you. Next question, please. So it said I showed up late. Have we talked about the new homes being added on Oakley and East Cypress Road? We have not, but there is a tremendous amount of growth happening within the city of Oakley, down the Cypress corridor, leading out to Bethel Island. What I can tell you is that most, if not all, of those new developments, as I did state, they are participating in the district's CFDs and impact fees. Those developments, and many of them, let me stress this, there are many developments that are conditioned, which means that by law, they are not required to pay impact fees and CFDs. They're required to pay the fees that are at place when the projects got approved, and many of them got approved decades ago. With that being said, is that we still work with those that are conditioned, and we have had many, and I thank them. I can't list them all by name, but I thank all of the developments that have voluntarily accepted the district's impact fees and CFDs. Our fire marshal leans into it heavily. We lean into them. I work with them. The city of Brentwood, Oakley, and the county, we lean onto them to voluntarily participate to take care of it. So there is a lot of growth. They are paying their impacts for future development. We do have a station constructed, Station 55. You go down the end of Cypress Road, you'll see it on the left-hand side once you pass Bethel Island Road. That station will serve Bethel Island, Knightson, in that area. It serves the whole district, but primarily it's what we consider to be kind of its first due area. I use that word lightly because they're all over the place. But there is a lot of development, but I believe we're managing it effectively now. But that's going to be one of the first stations, the first station that we staff once we get revenue. And we're hoping right now, and I will tell you this, we have funding right now through our budget. I should have said this earlier, that Station 55, we have two plans opening that in March of 2022, with consolidation or without. We have budgeted in our June preliminary budget, which we approved, that has been approved for, that will go in effect in July. Our final budget will be in September. But we have the revenues, East Contra Costa Fire, independently of any other action, to open one additional station, and it will be Station 55 in March 22. That has been approved, just as the last board meeting. We are also leaning into the consolidation feasibility, and if that goes through, that process will also fund and get that station staffed by March of 22. Furthermore, if consolidation were to go through, and if the annexation study holds as it did in the preliminary study, there'd be a second station in Brentwood that would be opened in July of 22, tentatively. So I believe that we have not only a solid plan moving forward to address growth through consolidation or on our own, and then we also have contingencies in place. Great question. Next question, please. And again, what I'll say is that I appreciate that. That again, there's no measure in place. There's not going to be a vote of the people. The district is exploring all alternative means, and we're doing everything at the federal, state, local level, consolidation feasibility. And once we've exhausted all means, when and if we exhaust all means, they may fill the gap. And that's what we're leaning into to try to get it done. Then and only then would the board consider taking a vote. But we are prepared if we need to do that too. So that's plan C. But we are prepared to move forward with that if we have to. Multiple contingencies. Next question, please. So when will the county decide to annex or not? So that's a great question for clarity. So again, the three agencies that are right now going through the annexation feasibility study are Contra Costa Fire Protection District, East Contra Costa, and Rodeo Hercules. We, East Contra Costa Fire, will be bringing the findings, the preliminary findings, to our finance committee on June the 21st at 3 o'clock. From my understanding, the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District will be bringing the preliminary findings to their board on the 22nd at their 1 o'clock meeting. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's about right. Now in July, the full study, the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District will be bringing the full study to their board to look at the full summary, the recommendations, the conclusions. They'll be looking at it on the 13th. We are going to be looking, East Contra Costa Fire is going to be looking at it on the 14th. And Rodeo Hercules, I believe, is going to be doing it on the 15th. So the 13th, 14th, specifically for our two agencies, those are the dates. I'll try to keep you updated. Good question. Next question, please. I pray that consolidation goes through, because if it doesn't, we're all in parallel, do a huge trouble. The district has over and over again been short-sighted in only wanting a tax and has failed. The same board members who were appointed in 18 as elected as no one else ran have been around for years previously. The district needs to be more vocal publicly in regards to Measure X. I hear that. I think that we are very vocal as a district to Measure X, and respectfully, all of the improvements that have been made in regards to impact fees, CFDs, stopping the bleeding have been done purely at the direction of the existing fire board. They're decade-old issues. Yes, we have leaned upon a tax because taxes are the means of which we're funded. 97% of our funds come in through property taxes, and the existing residents, when it comes to fire protection, were not assessed or they did not address the impacts as we are doing with our future residents. And so, again, I do respect the opinion. But the only thing I want to note again is that the existing fire board has done a tremendous job in 4 years to stop the bleeding. And furthermore, they haven't made an ask. The existing board that is in place now, they're the ones that are exploring all alternative options. Furthermore, we did do a presentation. It's a regional approach that looks at not only consolidation, but also Measure X to make us sustainable. And that is what is being done. And right now, that's Plan A. And then we have Plan B and Plan C. So I respect that. I respectfully disagree to some degree, because I think our behavior demonstrates that we're rapidly making movement, and that, look, it takes more than us to be able to fix this, and we're making strides. So I do appreciate the question. Next question, please. Is the district financially prepared and staffed for a wild season, and could a severe wildfire season negatively impact the district? When the answer is no. I mean, the answer is not, respectfully, not only for fire season are we adequately and prepared and staffed, but it's also off season. It's year round. We have 3 stations. We should have 6. With that said, the 3 stations we have are fully staffed. We do participate in not only automatic aid with Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, but we also participate in state mutual aid. And when we get overrun and or things happen, we lean upon our automatic aid agreements and our mutual aid agreements. The difference between automatic and mutual is automatic is when the tone comes, if we're not available, they come automatically. It means just that. The mutual aid means that we have to make a request. And if the resources are available, they come. Leaning upon auto aid and mutual aid as a baseline level of service is not a good practice. And what it does is it increases time and distance for people to be able to get to the district. And time and distance in the fire protection district, and really law enforcement and medical also. Those are the enemies that we're always trying to combat and do. And so, to be clear, is no. We need additional 3 stations yesterday. Our members continue to get overrun. There are calls per month that we are not available to respond to, that we have to lean upon automatic or mutual aid to go, because all of our resources are committed, and our response times are double what they should be. And so we are leaning into and working to address that, but the answer is no. We are not adequately staffed, and that's exactly what we're trying to address. Next question, please. For more transparency, the Finance Committee meetings should be later and not at 3:30 when everyone is still working. Duly noted. And I can address that with our board. Hello, and thank you for doing this. A couple of questions with the expansion of the urban limit lines. Can you please dive into that a bit more and also clarify how that will affect us and our cities and in your regards? Okay, so I'm going to try to make this as brief as I can. So all the county and the cities, they have what's considered urban limit lines, which means that they have in their general plans, the city of Brentwood, the city of Oakley, and the county all have general plans. And the general plans, they've identified within their respective sphere of influences what is called a urban limit line, which means they will not build outside of the urban limit line. Now, they can do general plan amendments. In my understanding right now, the city of Brentwood, the city of Oakley, and the county, there are not any discussions. There are not any discussions about moving urban limit lines. There was, however, discussion back in 2019 where Brentwood considered moving the urban limit line, and it did not pass a voter initiative and did not occur. But if it had occurred, we would have had to have another fire station with our growth for a total of 10, not 9, but a total of 10 stations to address that urban limit line expansion. So right now, from my understanding, Oakley, Brentwood County, no one's discussing urban limit line changes, but we as the fire district watch that. And if they expand the area of which they can develop and they grow, that impacts our service levels. So today, looking at the general plans of Brentwood, Oakley, and the county, we need a total of 9 stations. If urban limit lines, I'm stressing the word if they were to occur or if they were to happen, we may need more. But at this time, we don't believe that's something we need to focus on. Next question, please. The district has been so open with everything. The people have chosen not to protect themselves. That's a statement. Next question, please. Okay, I'm going to give it one more second. When I get that, it demonstrates to me that there are no more questions. So this is important. This will be recorded. I ask you to share it. I ask you to go back. I also want to be sympathetic to that the medium of which that we're doing this meeting here tonight isn't conducive for everybody. People don't want to put their name up there. They don't want to address a question in this format. And that is why I put my phone number and my email address out there. Now, again, it's on the website. I'll verbalize it here in a moment before we get offline. But I want people, look, if I said anything that was too fast, if I used acronyms where I try not to, if I glossed over something and you want more detail, it's so important for me that you understand and you know what decisions we're doing and where it's at. So those of you that have been heavily engaged, to me, this is a continuing a conversation with you. Those that are new to it is an introduction to a very complex, a very dynamic, constantly moving, very fluid situation. The fire board, myself, and our staff, we are dedicated to fixing the problem of which many people said was impossible to fix, to provide adequate fire protection to the residents of East Contra Costa Fire Protection District. We're on the eve of very good things, and we have, and I'm not going to dismiss and smell the roses to some degree, we have accomplished great things. The fire board, staff, our firefighters working with labor or land use agencies of correcting what brought us here. It's fixed. The future is. The existing service level deficits, we got some work to do. And so I thank all of you for being here. I thank you for your continued patience as we work through it. I understand urgency and timeline has been challenging and difficult. I will continue to provide updates when updates become available. I actually didn't anticipate to do this until after the July meeting, but I started getting a feeling, because last time we did this was in December, January, and we were going to pause until July. But I really wanted to make sure that folks got an update from me and that they were aware of the June and July meetings. When it came out afterwards, they had an opportunity. Now, second question. Regards to air quality due to fires. There are many farm workers. That's true. Yeah, so look, the fire seasons continue to increase and get worse. We are going into a drought season. There's no doubt about it. The air quality is very difficult to be able to manage, especially we demonstrated it, 1 year ago, a year and a half ago, with the previous fire season. So look, we worry about all citizens. We worry about all different age groups, those that are not ambulatory or can't move around. And so there's many demographics, farm workers being one of them, that not only ourselves, but our partner agencies from community health that we sympathize and that we worry about. We also lean heavily into prevention. And so those of you that are watching, make your property safe, do your hazard abatement, community risk reduction, harden your properties to make sure that fires don't, if they start on your property, they don't go off. Let's prevent them from starting so they don't go off. And we're making strides on that too. We didn't have time to discuss that here tonight, but we're doing tremendous things when it comes down to vegetation hazard abatement. Air quality, the Bay Area Quality Management, they will continue to give alerts. They'll let people know what we do. But when and if we get into another environment to where the air levels are unhealthy as they were before, we will come together and collaborate as a county with county health, air quality, the different land use agencies, Brentwood, Oakley, and the county that represents all the townships, and we will start giving directives out. So we do it on a case-by-case basis, depending upon weather events, what's happening, the magnitude of the fire, the location of the fire, drift smoke from other fires. But we will continue to keep you updated, but that is one of the emergencies we're prepared for. Okay. I want to pause because your questions are important to me. I anticipated 6:45, so we're close. All right. So again, on behalf of the fire board, myself, our staff, your firefighters, we do feel privileged to serve. We're working hard every day. If you see the guys and the gals out on the street, just acknowledge them and tell them hello. They're doing the best they can. I want to let you know our firefighters did not create the situation of which I'm responsible to fix, or the board's responsible to fix. But they are answering the call. They're at the tip of our spear every day. And I do not take what they do or the sacrifice that they give, and also how their families support them to serve you that call upon our services. So thank you for the privilege and opportunity to serve you. I hope this information has been useful. Continue to reach out until we meet again. Please be safe. Thank you.